We are recording.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is Wednesday, March 8th, 2023 at 10:01. I want to again remind everybody to sign in online. I know that Daryl put the link to sign in the chat. And we don't do introductions just to respect everybody's time. So I'm going to move forward. I didn't see if Tracy is here, so let me check that real quick.
I'm here.
Yes, she is. Hey, hi, Tracy.
Hello.
Hi. So we'll go ahead and start with you if you want to go with the issue tracker update.
Okay. Look at that real quick. So we had a couple items that are still open. I know the top one I've noted is closed, but I wanted to confirm with Andrew on this call and you guys as well. Saw some emails going back and forth, and it looks like Intrado did get a hold of Converge One on this one, and we did clarify what had happened with that 10th SIP connection for Adams County. So I can't tell. Andrew, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Is that was the last email I saw. It looks like Intrado and Converge One did clarify kind of what happened with this.
Yeah, I believe so. They resolved it.
Yeah. So I'm going to move that to the closed for next month, but I didn't want to do so until we made sure with everyone on this call.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Tracy. It was just my understanding, if I recall what I read, that one of the techs accidentally created that or added a additional SIP session.
Yeah.
Accidentally. Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't, there wasn't any paperwork tracking that it was ever requested, which was a key signal that something went wrong. So I did read from the emails, it was a human error and it was corrected. So we should be set on that one.
Okay, thank you.
The other one was some abandoned calls, primarily with Montrose and Grand Junction. And I had on this one that the PSAPs involved were going to converse with the Lumen NOC as more information became available. I reached out to Carl in the NOC yesterday, and he had not heard anything on this since early February. So I need to ask both Montrose and Grand Junction, are you guys continuing to see this? Did you have some additional information that we could provide to the NOC on your behalf, or was it resolved?
This is Jennifer. So I spent a lot of time doing extensive research into our system. I did find several calls where it appeared that or was confirmed that the caller tried to call 911 and never heard us on the other line and made multiple attempts to reach us. So if we need to go through the NOC, I just finished that research. I was actually going to bring it up on this call. So
okay.
If we need to go through the NOC, I'm happy to do that. If you'd rather I get offline and get with you on that and the research that I have with the specific calls and dates and times, I can do that. So I'll take your direction as to where to go from here.
Okay. Jennifer, we can do both. If you want to send me the research that you have, that's awesome. I do have to include Carl and our NOC management team because I don't have access into reviewing call logs.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's easier to email me, that's fine. Or I can shoot you Carl's email address if you don't have it. I know sometimes it's difficult to reach them on the phone, but he is very good at getting answers to email. So we can work it that way too.
No problem. If you'll send me his email, then I'll just email you both with these details.
Perfect. Will do.
Thank you.
And Jennifer, will you toss your email in the chat just so we make sure we have it?
Sure.
Okay. So I'll follow up with the NOC on that one, and we will leave that on here. I did hear, and Daryl, I don't know if Tim reached out to you, but I asked this morning about that agreement between West/Intrado and Lumen to be sent to you. Tim said he did get legal approval. I don't know what steps he had to go through, but his intent is to send that out to, let me look and see what he said. I thought he said Tina. Let me see. He's going to send it out to Kathy on Monday and then leave it to Kathy to send to the folks on the team that need it. So that was what I heard from him. I don't know if he's out this week and that's why it can't be sent till Monday, but he did say Monday.
Thank you. I have not received anything yet, but that's good news.
Okay. Yeah, and let us know if you don't see something Tuesday. And I'll reach back out again, but he did respond to an email today. As far as,
Okay.
yep, as
No,
far
I
as,
was just going to say thank you. Sorry, Tracy.
oh, of course. No, I'm sorry. Pitkin and Vale. Vicky and Andrew are still working on this. I know it has been a struggle to get a time when the PSAPs, Motorola, and Intrado are all available. Those are the key players that need to be on the line. Lumen is available as well, and Andrew would sit in, but I have not heard back from Intrado or Motorola as to when this will be scheduled. And again, this is one that was going to be a project on the Intrado side because we have to basically reroute the way that the ESInet is working today. I chatted a little bit this morning with Wes, and as far as the MO being put in place for El Paso to Cheyenne, that still does not have a due date yet. We're waiting on several parties to let us know when that can be completed. It's approved, it just has not been done. The last one there is just kind of one we're keeping on here for long-term effects. You know, it's basically asking for this, you know, transfer capability to be across state lines nationwide. And it's just something that's large project. It will now fall into the sales team to work with Intrado as well as the PSAPs to get that taken care of. One other item that it looks like it got moved a little sooner is I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows Intrado is scheduling time with the individual PSAPs to go through the 911 net training. I believe there were a couple sessions last week while I was out of the office, and I know there are several more dates scheduled through March. So if we have any PSAPs that have not received an email invite to attend one of these sessions to learn 911 net, please let me know and I can get you on the list. Not everyone has access to 911 net. So what we have done is at most locations, there is someone that has access and they're just going to kind of group together and go through the training all at one time. Not everyone has the right access for 911 net, but we're happy to get that to you if necessary. And again, if there are any PSAPs that didn't get that invite, let me know and I will get your information over to Intrado so we can get you on the list.
All right. Thanks, Tracy.
Sure.
Okay, the next, sorry, any questions on that or go ahead, Daryl?
Yeah, sorry about that. So just to confirm, Cheyenne Mountain, is that the only PSAP that is not migrated to the ESInet at this point, or is there another base still?
Schreiber hasn't done it either.
Schreiber, okay.
And I couldn't begin to tell you when Schreiber is going to join in and step up. Our communication there is exceedingly difficult.
Hey Wes, Kevin Brown.
Yeah.
So Nancy sent them another email this week. I did not see a response. I'm guessing she did not either. So I'm gonna fan some flames. Leave it at that.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
And then my other question was, on 911 net. I guess I'm surprised to find out there are PSAPs that don't have access to 911 net. It seems like that should be something that every PSAP is doing. Wouldn't you agree, Tracy?
So let me clarify that then. Yeah. Every PSAP does have access to 911 net. Not every single person at every PSAP has access.
Okay.
We don't have, they're just, I mean, that would be a little extreme for Intrado. So they make sure that every PSAP has a login and password, but not every employee of every PSAP.
That makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, what does that get them access to?
Basically, you're allowed, in this particular case, it allows you to enter information on a misroute call. And the way I understood it from Intrado is, you know, there's a lot of people that do the MSAG validations and they have different access capabilities within 911 net. And that's kind of restricted just based on Intrado's rules. In order to enter a misroute, typically that's only a very small piece of 911 net. So there's someone at each PSAP that can do that, but not every single person can do that.
And address corrections too, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. And that's limited. I believe I was given 4 people within the state that are allowed to grant access to that MSAC data. So if there is someone that needs access, it has to be approved by one of those 4 MSAG managers. Because they don't want everyone going in and changing addresses.
You can have a hierarchy with more than one person at an authority or a PSAP, where in some cases, perhaps the PSAP is granted rights to submit alley discrepancy reports for these kinds of calls, for example, whereas another person might be the MSAG coordinator who maintains the MSAG and alley data. Or you could have all of that under one roof at the PSAP, for example.
Correct. And the information that was shared with me is the MSAG coordinator is the one that has to approve additional accesses to 911net.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, if I had certain people requesting access, I sent them to the MSAG coordinator that is tied to that PSAP. Otherwise, everyone has been really good about saying, you know, hey, my name's Jennifer, I have access. These 2 people on my team are going to do the training with me.
Andrew has raised his hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, Tracy, are you able to tell me, for example, who has access from Denver?
I can't, but Entrado can.
Okay.
And that would be for Denver?
Yeah.
Okay. I will find that out.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. We can move forward. Tracy, do you have the quarterly QoS statistics?
I do. They're not very exciting, which is good when you're talking about 911net. We pulled these metrics for everybody, and we did not see anything out of the norm. This would be for the month of February. Let me go here. So the VSOT, I can't even talk. MOS by PSAP. Again, we're looking at anything 5 or better is considered excellent, and we look for something that is right around 4, which is what we've hit consistently. This is the voice quality. I did talk to Carl Klein in our NOC, and we really do not have any way of showing kind of a bad voice call, because that's something that we don't track. Their best advice was, I mean, on our own or on your own as a PSAP, you're welcome to just, he said Google, and you can go online and listen to him, but it's not something that they would go on and kind of pull out. If of course there's ever anything within our network that falls below that 3.5 threshold, we would definitely want to take a look at that and share it, but he did not have that available at this time.
Tracy, I'll do some research between now and our next meeting and see if I can find some audio examples, obviously not from your network, but just out there that
Okay.
that we can maybe play for people on here so they get an idea of what these MOS scores mean.
Okay. Yeah, it's just something that they said they can't provide, so I left it at that.
Well, those scores will also be helpful. So if somebody is experiencing trouble, they can maybe recognize what it is for their trouble report.
Exactly, that's the idea.
Just to give an example to the folks, yeah, I was like, our NOC looks at this every hour on the hour, so they would definitely catch something that fell below the threshold, but I understand wanting to hear it, just so you would know at the time of the call. Looking at our Longmont versus Miami, again, 5 would be absolutely excellent. 3.5 is kind of what triggers an investigation, and for the month of February, we didn't have anything that would fall into the threshold where the NOC would go in and look at anything, which again is good to hear. We like when these metrics show up kind of boring, if you will. Packet loss, tariff on this one is less than or equal to 0.5%. And as we can tell in this, we don't have anything that fell into that. And then we hit the jitter packs on the bottom. Again, the tariff of this, we measure, the measurements are in microseconds, and the tariff, I believe, calls out, is it milliseconds, Dara?
Yeah, 20 milliseconds, which is, so it would, this, on this scale, it would have to hit 20,000, and the scale doesn't even go that high.
Right. And that, you know, that's kind of why we do it this way, is because it wouldn't show up at all and the graph would be non-existent. So that's why it's in microseconds. But we see that falling right into the required standards of the tariff. So again, nothing too exciting on jitter.
Okay. Any questions on that from anybody? Okay, hearing none. Next on the agenda is old business. We have the tariff amendment filing with Tim. Tim is not on. I know that there are other meetings taking place, and I think it's better that we wait for him to be on this meeting if and when that time comes for him to explain. So we'll move on to B. Daryl, Lumen Knock, update on responsiveness. Daryl, you're muted.
And that's why I'm talking away and everyone's okay. Anyway, so I've had one report since our last meeting on the 16th. Cameron Decker with San Luis Valley reported that they had an outage and they had trouble getting any information about the outage from the NOC or getting information as to what was being done to address the outage at the time. He was informed later that a tech was en route, but the NOC was unable to provide an ETA. This information has been passed on to Kevin Klein. Is it Kevin Klein?
Carl.
Carl Klein. I'm thinking of Calvin Klein. Carl Klein at the NOC supervisor, so he's aware of this, and so he could look into it as well. And that's all I had.
Okay, thanks, Daryl. The next was the settlement agreement regarding CenturyLink and the West contract. And Tracy spoke to that earlier. So we can go to the next one. She also spoke to the 911 net training. So that leads us to the parking lot, unless anybody has any questions about those other two things. Okay, guess not. So here's the parking lot topics. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding these that we have put in the parking lot? Okay. Next is new business. Do we have any new business anybody wants to bring forward? This is going to be a quick meeting, you guys. Next is open discussion, questions and concerns from PSAPs to Lumen. Jennifer, go ahead.
This is not necessarily to Lumen, but maybe it could be. So in the process of the research that I did a lot of examination of Rapid SOS and calls that are coming in to our CPE. And this is probably not news to a lot of people, but there are calls that are presented in Rapid SOS that do not get presented to the CPE at the comm center. For example, the day that I watched, we had 7. So I spoke to Rapid SOS and I asked around a couple of comm centers, and a lot of the comm centers address this by having people watch the portal and call them back and treat them as an abandoned 911 call. But because we have broad participation here in this group, I wanted to let everybody know that that is something that occurs so that you can address that at your comm center if you want to. And I would, the majority of those, I think, anecdotally, people say that they hung up before they reached the ESInet and therefore couldn't be presented. But there are several cases where these calls are in fact emergencies that needed a response. And so I guess the question, if there is one for Lumen, is there a way to better capture those and get them to the call handling at the PSAPs? Is there anything that can be done, or is that just the way it is? And I know that's an open-ended question, but that's what I would like to know.
Okay, anyone from Lumen like to tackle that?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but you know, I can ask our NOC if they have come across that or have any, you know, suggestions, or if there's anything they can do.
Yeah, Andrew, I think it would be a combination of our NOC and Entrado that we could work with to see.
That
Yeah,
sounds good.
it's a hard, this is Rich Entrado. It's a hard question to answer. Why didn't we get the calls, or why was it presented on the system and not another one? If you have some examples, we could look at particulars, but either it was presented to our system and it was delivered, or it wasn't. You know, there could be some cases where maybe it was presented and it was processing and it was hung up, and therefore it was we determined it as an abandoned call. But other than, you know, we're not getting calls that we should, it's hard to investigate that without specific, you know, data to look at one by ones maybe.
And that
Okay.
data is hard to get because RapidSOS doesn't keep their stuff, their data past 12 hours. So in order for me to get it, I had to sit and watch the portal one day and record those calls that did not get presented to the CPE. So it's a challenge to research.
Daryl's raised his hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to suggest the same thing. I totally get what you're saying with the challenge on capturing those because of the way that RapidSOS doesn't permanently log things like everything else in 911. But I think that's what they're going to need to do, is find out if the call of it has actually hit the system. But the other thought I had is, and I'm not an expert on RapidSOS by any means, but I understand that they will present calls to you that might actually go to another PSAP. If they're just outside of your jurisdiction, they'll still present the call to you. I think there's like a 5-mile or 10-mile buffer. So that might be where some of those calls are coming from, if you can find out, you know, where the caller was when the call was placed.
That wasn't the case in my research, but I know that that's a possibility.
Matt, go ahead.
On that buffer, on that buffer in RapidSOS, it's my understanding, not that if it's 10 miles outside your boundary, you'll get the data, but you can access it if you want to.
So I think, Jennifer, if you would like Lumen and Entrado to investigate, give us some examples and we can take a look at them and go from there. It's hard for us to be proactively investigate specific calls, whether of which we didn't receive or that we deem as abandoned calls, without knowing that there was a specific issue with them. So if you can give us ones that you believe specifically should have been delivered to your PSAP that weren't, then we can take a look at them, and maybe that then expands to a bigger investigation.
No problem. I'll include it on the same email that I send to Tracy and Dillo on the other issue. Or Tracy and Carl. Jeez, sorry.
All right.
Yeah,
Any
that
other
works, and I
comments?
can share it with
Questions?
you, Rich. Sorry.
That's okay.
What's that, Tracy? I'm sorry.
I said that I can share the information Jennifer's sending over to you.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll get Kim Haig to start the investigation on our side. I'll take a quick look because I have some access, so I'll probably be interested and go look at some logs and see what we could see initially. But the formal investigation will be done by our NOC and stuff like that.
Great.
Should we include this as a like an old business item for future meetings to follow up on and find out what was resolved?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we have open issues from Lumen to any of the PSAPs. I see, or anyone from Lumen, anything?
I don't have anything. This is Andrew.
Okay. Next is public comment. Non-voting members are welcome to provide comments during this portion. Any public comment? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting. I'm showing the time of 10:26 a.m. and thank you all for your time.
Take care, everyone.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.